So yeah, my name is Dr. Katie Burak. I'm at the University of British Columbia in Canada, and today I'm going to talk about diversity in data science, and in particular, how we can empower women through outreach. So just a little bit about myself. I'm an assistant professor of teaching in the Department of Statistics at University of British Columbia, but I work mostly in the Masters of Data Science program. We're currently developing our data science major, so it's a lot of work there. Yeah, just kind of encouraging and promoting women and other gender minorities in data science is kind of a passion of mine in this role. So I'll talk a little bit about that. First of all, I just wanted to say that I am a statistician. So I'm not a psychologist or a social scientist. So all of the stuff that I'll be talking about today is either based on data or research or my personal experiences with outreach and as a woman in STEM myself. So I have a little activity for us as a group before we kind of get into the presentation. So I just wanted to ask, I'm just really curious to know, because I've heard a lot of these types of stories. On your academic or career journey, was there a moment that you felt inspired or supported by someone who helped get you where you are today? So I'll maybe just leave this. I have a Padlet set up for this. If you want to just go to this URL, or you can scan, if you're just watching on your phone, you can scan this QR code. And I'll maybe just hang out here for, I don't know, about a minute or so and let you folks fill this out. It is anonymous, so don't worry, you don't have to include your name if you don't want to. I'm just going to flicker over to the Padlet here and see if we have any more responses, just a couple here. I don't know, it's late for me too, so it's okay if I see another one popping up here. My postdoc mentor saw that I was capable of what I was capable of long before I did and encouraged me to reach for the stars. That's great. I love to hear these stories because personally, when I started my undergrad, I honestly didn't even know you could major in math or statistics or data science. I just liked math. And I was really fortunate to be a part of a department that had almost gender parity in math and stats, which is really rare, actually. And I had a lot of amazing mentors who kind of pushed me and encouraged me to pursue research projects with them, grad school. And yeah, that was really, really important for me to see people doing what I wanted to do or what I didn't even know that I wanted to do at that time. So thanks for sharing. I'm going to be talking about something called the leaky pipeline, but I just wanted to report this statistic first, that in 2024, the Data Science Council of America reported that even though 57%, so over half of women make up the overall workforce, only 27% of employees in the technology industry are women. So I'm going to talk about the leaky pipeline. It's a term used to describe the gradual loss of women and underrepresented minorities in STEM fields like data science, even though they have initially very strong abilities and interest in these fields. So we can kind of see in a bachelor's program, for example, there's like a certain ratio, but as we move along the pipeline, maybe to grad school, postdoc, academic positions, careers, we're losing them. So understanding the leaky pipeline can help us to identify where interventions can be most effective. So identifying different issues at each stage, encouraging girls from a young age, doing outreach, which is what I'm going to talk about today, providing mentorship and higher education, and ensuring fair and supportive work environments. We can all work together to help close these gaps and help fix this leaky pipeline and retain more women in STEM fields and data science. So this is something that I'm particularly passionate about. I'm going to talk about some systemic barriers. So like I said, I'm not a psychologist, but these are some that I think are particularly relevant that I'm going to try to touch on today. The first being gender stereotypes and biases. So societal beliefs that certain fields like STEM are more suited to men can discourage girls and women from pursuing these areas. So from a young age, there's rumors maybe that like math is for boys or something, and that boys are innately better at STEM topics, when this is simply not true. These stereotypes can kind of foster a lack of confidence in young girls or lead to imposter syndrome later in their life and their careers when they're trying to explore these topics. The second is a lack of role models and mentorship. So as that leaky pipeline progresses, a shortage of female role models in STEM fields can make it harder for women to envision themselves in these careers. So actually just seeing and hearing from women in data science at events like this conference is a great example for that. That can be really inspiring to girls in the field and encourage them to continue studying or pursue a career in that field. Even if they don't want to pursue a career, at least just be open to those topics. And then finally, another big one is work environment and pay gap. So women may face biases in hiring and promotions and evaluations, which can then impact their career progression and their satisfaction in their job. So traditionally, women may also face additional challenges related to like balancing a family and maternity leave with a career. And women in STEM and data science often experience a gender pay gap that we all know about compared to their male counterparts, which can impact their long-term career satisfaction. And these types of systemic barriers are all factors that contribute to the leaky pipeline. So when are we losing girls in STEM? When are we losing their interest? So high school is definitely a critical age in the pipeline. I often talk to girls when they're kind of in grade 12 and they're already going to university and they've decided on their major and it feels almost too late. So in high school, folks are exposed to maybe potentially interesting topics and they're made to feel confident to either pursue these topics further or they seem to lose interest entirely. So after this stage, it may be difficult to recover interest in these topics. So if a student isn't encouraged to take physics, for example, she might not really know if she's eventually going to go into a related field like engineering. But high school might actually already be a little bit too late, like I was mentioning, to get the most impact. So a study from Microsoft suggests that most girls become interested in STEM as early as age 11, but they lose interest by only age 15. So there's kind of this 4-year window that seems very critical to encourage and support women in STEM. So having an impact on girls in late, kind of early middle school is also really important, potentially for retention. So I'm going to talk about, so with all of that being said, now I'm going to talk a little bit about what I'm doing to help promote women in data science. So I am doing some data science outreach. I've put on a few different events. So I'm going to talk about this Girls in Data Science camp that I ran this year. I'd run it a couple of times before and kind of rebooted it this year. But it was a camp that aims to expose students to a variety of topics in data science and statistics. And I decided in British Columbia, kind of high school can be considered grades 8 to 12. So again, if I had like a grade 7 that was really eager, I would let them in the camp. But I was targeting that age range rather than kind of keeping it to the upper years, which some other initiatives might do. So the format for the camp, I ran a 3-day camp. I did kind of mornings were more instruction-based and activity-based, doing some active learning in groups, doing some icebreaker activities, things like that. And then the afternoons, we did some actual kind of case studies and hands-on practice with real data. So I had worksheets for them to do in the afternoons. And to be honest, I didn't exactly care how far they got into these worksheets. I just wanted them to get exposed to these topics. I had a couple of grad students who were there kind of to act as mentors and help support the girls going through the exercises, which I think they really liked. I think sometimes they can be a little bit intimidated talking to faculty and they just like to chat with the mentors and ask them questions. So I found that was a really nice kind of bonus. But it was more so to encourage them to explore the field of data science. Some girls were really interested and had taken coding classes before and statistics classes, which was great. And others had never seen the topic. So it was a very wide variety, which was great. So I'll give a little bit of a taste of kind of how the camp went and what types of things I covered in the camp. So again, the day one objectives was just to introduce them to data science. So I didn't assume any prior coding background. And this wasn't a coding camp. There are other camps that exist for coding. So I really wanted to provide them with a lot of kind of hold their hand through the coding and give them kind of some code chunks that they could use and just fill in the blanks and things like that. But basically we were working in Markdown in Jupyter Notebooks, and they just kind of learned a little bit about Markdown and the R programming language and a few basics for data visualization. So here's like a sample exercise from one of the worksheets. So for me, it was really important to use data sets that they might be interested in, rather than kind of medical data or something like that. So I tried to pick some fun data sets. Like this first one, I used Spotify data, just getting them to subset, filter, do some basic data wrangling, stuff like that. On the first day, of course, we couldn't go that far into depth. The second day was more of a statistics day. I did some statistical foundations. We did some sampling things with like M&Ms, grouping by colors, and some active learning activities in the morning, talking about different types of sample bias and observational studies and experiments and things like that, and just a general notion of variability. And I tried to do a different data set every day. So we had like a Pokemon data set the second day and had them investigate some different relationships there, which was fun. These are just sample exercises, but and then the third day, which was probably their favorite day, although maybe the most difficult to teach to this group, was Intro to Machine Learning. In the past, I've tried to do regression and that ended up being a little bit too much. I think I stuck to KNN, just grouping things based on their neighbors. They seem to like that more. So we did KNN, regression and classification, and just kind of introducing the idea that you might want to predict new things. Like we worked with a McDonald's data set, and we had kind of nutritional information of menu items, and we would use that to predict what kind of food category a new mystery item might be. So these are all examples of what I tried to introduce in this data science camp to make it really approachable and hopefully kind of exciting for folks. I'll mention some challenges that I had doing this event. So technical challenges, in the past, having package installation drama and doing all of this is always hard to navigate. So we used a Jupyter Hub server, and that worked great, just to give them like a sandbox where everything was working great and they could just go to a URL instead of having to download all of this stuff, and not work in a computer lab or something like that. That was really nice. Another challenge, like I mentioned, was diverse skill levels. So trying to make activities challenging enough for those who have done something before, while also still being approachable for folks who haven't coded before. Engaging them. Sometimes this material can be seen as a little bit dry, so trying to keep it light and fun and using relevant examples. And time management, so ensuring there was enough time for both instruction and hands-on work. And in the future, I think I really want to bring in women in data science to maybe talk to them about their careers and have a little bit of a mentorship aspect as well. I think that would be great. So this was kind of my favorite part, was reading through all of the feedback after the camp. So there's a few quotes here about how having an all-girls camp was really empowering. This camp was also free, I forgot to mention, so kind of making it accessible to everyone. A few of them commented on how the camp was free and they really liked that, and opening their minds to different possible career paths. Some people, like I said before, wanted to pursue careers in STEM, others didn't, but it kind of hopefully opened their minds to things that they hadn't thought about before. So yeah, it was really exciting and heartwarming. Just kind of from my own experience, the first day of the camp is always like everyone's a little bit shy, and by the end you kind of feel the sense that you've built this community. And it's a really nice feeling. And then some of them want to get involved in other initiatives. And yeah, it's really great. So I really hope to keep doing this camp. I wanted to share that all of this camp material that I was talking about today is publicly available on my GitHub. So feel free to check it out there if you wanted to run a similar event near you, or just use and cite my worksheets. It's all freely available there. So I hope we can kind of reach more girls and start offering these open camps in the future. This year coming up, I plan to run the camp again, but we're actually doing kind of a mentorship program this year, piloting it, where we're going to have women and gender minorities coming to campus and kind of interacting with our Women in Data Science Club on campus and going to some of those events. So I'm really excited for that as well. And yeah, this is kind of just a passion project of mine. And thanks for listening. I'm a little bit early, so if anyone wants to ask me questions about the camp, I'm happy to chat. But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Katie. It was very nice, very interesting, very much needed. So thank you very much for sharing these with us. And yes, we have 10 to 12 minutes. Anyone wants to ask any questions?
That's okay. And I think I can just hop back to the first slide here. I have my email here if anyone wants to email me about that, you're welcome to. But yeah, thank you so much. I think it's really important. And after doing this for the first time, I think I've really seen the impact it can have. So yeah, hopefully can keep doing more events like this one in the future. But yeah, feel free to reach out with any comments or questions. I'm happy to chat.